Hello, my name is Cristina Ferreras. I'm the International Research Funding Officer, and I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to update you about PITA, the Pediatric Transplantation European Registry. The topic of this webinar is about informing you of the submitted proposal from the ERN transplant child. PITA is a 3-year project, and the goals are the creation of a new, rational, efficient, interoperable, open, accessible pediatric transplant registry for all types of pediatric transplantation. This will allow to generate real-world evidence and to monitor the identification of common outcomes for all types of transplant, to support care and research for the benefit of patients, improvement of the transplanted patient healthcare, their life expectancy, and long-term quality of life of these children and their families. The specific objectives of this registry are identification of common topics to all types of transplant to cover clinical, personal, and socioeconomic issues, to develop an interoperable pediatric transplant registry following the standards of the European Union Rare Diseases Platform for the integration with other existing registries and exchange to different levels of information, to encourage the patient's representatives to define the outcomes and reported experiences in the pediatric transplant registry, definition and validation of PROMs and PREMs in pediatric transplantation, to ensure the quality process for data accuracy, information quality, ethical issues, security, and privacy, determine the efficacy and the cost effectiveness of clinical interventions, and to provide tools that guarantee the sustainability of the registry, dissemination, and financing of sustainability. This is a scheme of the PITA project to identify the common topics and standardize an interoperable platform to improve patient healthcare services. And this is the timeline. The patient-reported outcomes, PROs, have a growing there is a growing interest in PROs in clinical practice. PROs are based on direct reporting by patients without the intervention of an observer. The increased patient involvement in decision-making about their care will improve patient well-being and health outcomes. PROs include the self-assessment of well-being, functional status, symptoms, patient needs, and satisfaction with care. The purpose of PROs in clinical practice include to describe a patient's overall state, screening for incipient disease, monitor disease progression and response to treatment, assess patient-centered needs, formulate treatment plans, improve physician-patient communications, provide patient-based data for quality initiatives, standardize interactions between healthcare providers and patients. Patient-reported outcome measures, PROMs, and patient-reported experience measures, PREMs. PROMs are tools used to measure PROs. PROMs provide insight into the impact of an intervention or therapy on the patient. PROMs are standardized, validated questionnaires that are completed by patients during the perioperative period to ascertain perceptions of their health status, perceived level of impairment, disability, and health-related quality of life. PROMs support communication between clinicians and patients and, in turn, improve care processes and outcomes. PREMs provide insight into the quality of care during the intervention. PREMs gather information on patients' views of their experience whilst receiving care. In contrast to PROMs, PREMs do not look at the outcomes of care, but the impact of the process of the care on the patient's experience, such as communication and timelines of assistance. The information from prompts and prems will lead to research, quality improvement projects, audit, and economic evaluation. Also provides vital feedback to healthcare providers to allow comparisons in clinical care. The stakeholders of the Pit Registry identified are internal public, direct external public, and indirect external public. The internal public are ERN transplant child members and new members that will be included. Also, affiliated members with the final goal to include all European centers with a pediatric transplant program. Direct external public include patients and their families, patients of organizations, professionals involved in the transplant process, organizations providing health services, public health systems and sanitary authorities and other ERNs, and also pharmaceutical industry and diagnostic laboratories. The indirect external public includes local, regional, national, and European political decision makers, international medical and scientific associations, professional associations, specialist journalists and specialized press, international organizations and public entities related to pediatric transplantation, and others. The added value of the Pit Registry is in patients, families and patients organizations, also in healthcare providers and the multi-professional teams, and also impacts in the healthcare systems. In patients, families and patients organizations, by reducing hospitalization time and the use of complex and long-lasting treatments, providing psychosocial support to children during school age and their transition to adulthood, making available the latest techniques, medical and therapeutic advances, participation of the patient family in the care of their condition, involving families and patients organizations, and increasing society awareness. The added value in healthcare providers and the multi-professional teams is by collecting findings due to the higher amount of transplantation cases, allowing the identification of common topics to all types of transplants and the establishment of synergies, promoting the development of harmonized research lines, providing professionals with access to clinical excellence, and providing support and training to regional, local, and different levels of healthcare, making available guidelines for standardized, safe, and validated clinical practices, harmonizing the treatment and care, reducing mortality and morbidity related to pediatric transplantation, and allowing the development of personalized medicine. The added value to healthcare systems is by reducing the costs associated with transplantation, retransplantation, and pharmacological treatments, improving health outcomes associated with pediatric transplantation, quality and safety in the provision of healthcare and the satisfaction of patients and their families, facilitating access to first-level centers and fields of research, making available harmonized clinical practice guidelines to be used across healthcare services, having professionals specialized in highly complex procedures, sharing information with other stakeholders. This is the list of work packages and their applicants included in the Pit Register. The applicants were selected on the basis of the project objectives and the necessary experience to develop them, ensuring the geographical coverage required in the call. Work Package 1 is the management of the project and coordination activities and it's coordinated by University Hospital La Paz. Work Package 2, dissemination and communication activities, and it's coordinated by Hacienda Hospitaliera di Padova. Work Package 3, evaluation of the project's output and impact, is coordinated by Karolinska Institute. Work Package 4, methodological and analytical clinical outcomes registry development, is coordinated by University Hospital La Paz. Work Package 5, patients, families, outcomes, legal and ethical issues, coordinated by University Hospital La Paz. And Work Package 6, registry, quality assurance and monitoring, coordinated by Children's Memorial Health Institute, Warsaw. This is the list of deliverables that we have to achieve in the deliverable names, the work package they belong, the leading applicant, and the delivery month they have to be ready. This is the timeline, as I said before. Phase 1 is standardization of existing clinical data. It has to be done within the first 6 months. The phase 2 is the validation of prompts and prems ready within a year of the kickoff of the project. Phase 3, platform development. It has to be done in the 18 months after the kickoff of the project. Phase 4, testing, reports and results analysis has to be ready 2 months after the beginning of the project. And phase 5, quality improvement at 36 months of the beginning of the project. PITER has also a management structure to ensure transparency. The steering committee will oversee the whole project in direct contact with the project management team. The project management team will be the link between the steering committee with the clinical and technical committee, the advisory board, and the working package leaders. The steering committee is comprised of a group of senior managers representing each partner, and it's the highest decision board. The steering committee will encompass 7 main roles that will be closely supervised by the project management team. The project management team is formed by the coordinator and different project managers. The coordinator will make sure the project runs smoothly, and it will be responsible of the relationships between the steering committee, the clinical and technical committee, and PITER advisory board. The work package leaders will inform the steering committee of the activities performed in the project and any issue that arises. The clinical and technical committee is responsible for the planning, execution, and controlling of the scientific and technical issues. The PITER advisory board involves members of the ERN transplant child and some of the experts, and also members of patients' associations will be included to provide information about patients' priorities. There is also a meeting plan of the steering committee. Some of them will be face-to-face meetings, kick-off meeting in Madrid, and also some teleconferences. And that's it. Many thanks, and if you have any questions, you can send me an email. Thank you very much.